Lori Flaquette of Soltar Solutions, and today on Focus Forward, I would like to talk about Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy is phenomenal. His sales letters are, he works with Guthrie Ranker. His sales letters make millions of dollars for people. Get this book, check out the sales letters. There's nothing more important than being able to write a great sales letter. So check it out, Dan Kennedy. I'm one of his major fans. So now I am here with Ryan of Modern Image Film and Video Productions. Not that easy to say, Ryan. And we're going to talk about the business of being a video maker, being a filmmaker, and helping entrepreneurs to be able to figure out how they can put that together. So, Ryan, here we are.
Yes.
Tell me, what is it like today, right now, where you're sitting, to be a video, own a video business?
It is a really, really great time to do what I do with the explosion of web video. And it's becoming so commonplace too. Everyone's kind of expecting to receive information in video form, especially on the web. So business is phenomenal, and again, it's a great time to do what I do.
Okay, I'm going to dive right in on one of the challenges.
Okay.
Okay? And I want you to tell me if this is fact or fiction.
Okay.
Cameras are really, they're much more sensitive, they're much better. They're much cheaper. The average person probably has a phenomenal video camera in their closet.
Probably not.
Not? Really?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of qualifying statements there. Yes, it is easy to shoot relatively good-looking video. For example, iPhones shoot 1080p HD video, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to produce a great-looking video.
Well, I didn't say that.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they have the equipment. So the equipment is readily available. I mean, when I first got my digital camera, I'm talking about the SLR.
Sure.
It was 2 megapixels. I thought I was in heaven.
Right.
Okay. Now, I mean, those megapixels. Sometimes I look online and the megapixels are off the charts. I'm like, do you really need that many megapixels?
Right.
So, but the point is that because people have this nice equipment, sometimes they think that they can shoot anything and it's going to come out right. It's going to be fabulous.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of a common misconception, is because the cameras are so readily accessible, they shoot great quality video. Audio is still a big concern. You want to have a lavalier microphone or a boom microphone to get that good sound. Otherwise, you're shooting, you have this camera here, your subject's over there. The sound quality is not going to be great. Lighting is another big one. And that doesn't even touch on post-production, the editing, the music, the graphics, compression for the web. So it's not that easy. Even with the great cameras that people have, it's still very difficult to produce a technically sound video.
Well, it's not only, I'm 100%, I agree with you, but it's not only the technically sound, it's all the components that you need and understanding in the beginning what it is that you're trying to create.
Right.
That's what I say. Like when I'm talking to people about, well, we could shoot B-roll for this, because when I do producing, we could shoot B-roll for this. Well, why would we need that?
Right.
Well, because just 15 minutes of looking at somebody talking might not be so fabulous.
Right, yeah.
So that B-roll really gives it, really enriches it. So you're busy all the time. I know you're busy all the time. How are you so busy? Right through the economic downturn, the whole thing, I don't even think you took a minute. Seriously.
I didn't. And actually, I started the company in 2007, so the economy was kind of already on that downward slump. So really, I've only run this business in a down economy. So what is it going to be like, when things pick up? I don't know. I'm going to be running around pulling my hair out. But yeah.
Don't pull your hair out.
Yeah,
Your hair is
I'll
nice.
try to keep it.
It's pretty.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't pull it out. Pull out somebody else's hair. So you've only run the business in what would be considered a down economy.
Right.
Okay, so what are your tips? What are your tips? Because you've been there, you understand. What are your tips for somebody who might be thinking about starting a video company or starting a communications company,
Sure.
what tips would you have for them?
The big one for growing the business and getting that client base in place is meeting people. That's where the vast majority of my business comes from, is people I know, people I've worked with, past clients, people who are supporters of my work and happy about what I did for them or maybe did for a friend of theirs. So that's the big one. Get to know a lot of people, get out there, network, meet people, make connections. That's going to help grow your business.
Well, that's absolutely, that's great advice for everyone. So one question I have is, when you first started out, let's roll back to 2007, how much work did you do in the beginning of your business for free?
A lot of it. I probably spent a good maybe 2 years, maybe even more than 2 years, doing work for free and for cheap. But again, it's just about getting your name out there, meeting people, because you never know when that free work or that cheap work is going to circle back around, with a full-paying client.
So when we say that, how many of the people that told you that they were going to come back and reward you for your being so kind about doing a cheap or very or free video for them, how many people actually came back and did that?
I would say that it's a low percentage.
Okay.
It might be like 10%. Some of them I never heard from again. And going into it, I knew that. I knew that in a lot of cases this isn't going to pay off. But you never really know which one is going to pay off. So you put yourself out there and you just do it. But the ones that have paid off, you, for example, some of our earlier projects together, there wasn't always a huge budget for those. But I was happy to take them on. And now look at us here, 5 years later. I'm sitting in this chair on television on your show. And so this is the biggest one, I would say, that came around and was really worth it. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's been such a phenomenal experience working with you. It's so great to be able to bring somebody in on a project and know that they're going to do a phenomenal job, know that they're going to get along with the client, know that they're going to be able to sense to actually produce something that's going to be phenomenal. I can always tell you that 100% of the time that I have brought you in, I know you were going to be on time. That's another thing. Professionalism.
Right.
Professionalism is huge. You have always been absolutely the height of professionalism and perfectionism, both. So, for me, I've always been comfortable to be able to say, all right, well, let's bring Ryan in on this job. He can do it. He can handle it. So, that's been huge, because the worst thing in the world is to have somebody that's a referral source and you not produce.
Right, and that's something that a lot of people don't think about. You've got to have the hard skills of actually being able to produce a video, to have the equipment, but the soft skills are equally important, in my opinion. You have to be presentable, you have to be friendly, you have to have good communication, timely communication. That stuff's all very important too, and if that's not there, but you're still producing great videos, your business probably isn't going to do well.
Right, exactly. Exactly, because nobody wants to hire somebody that they can't get along with,
Right.
even if they're great.
Yeah.
I saw that many times in New York, with talent. Some talent, they were phenomenal at what they did, but they were quite difficult to get along with.
Right.
And that was an issue. So, and also Cruz was the same thing.
Sure.
So in looking at this, what advice would you have for someone who maybe has these technical skills, but maybe is a little bit afraid of the business portion of it?
The business portion, in terms of like accounting and bookkeeping and the nuts and bolts of running a business?
Well, just the whole business part. We know all the different hats as an entrepreneur
Right.
that we have to wear. So what about some of those other hats? Because you can be great. You can be absolutely great with a camera. Okay, what next?
Yeah, right.
What other things do we need to do?
Right, yeah. There are other parts of it than that. Some people can produce great videos, but they just don't have it in them to run a business, because there's so much that goes into it. Everything from filing your assumed name to doing your taxes and your bookkeeping. That's probably the least fun part of it for me. So there's a ton of logistical things that go into keeping up a business. And it's not always easy. And there are a lot of steps that go into it along the way.
Okay, so Another question I have for you, and this question I've been wondering about for years. So I really want you to be very, very honest and tell us the truth about this.
Okay.
So if you need to take a second and think about it. Every entrepreneur that I know is working about 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay? They have days that start at 5 in the morning, they go to midnight on a regular basis. They're working weekends, they're working holidays to try to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
But you have been able to manage your life and have balance. You go out on your motorcycle, you go out on your snowmobile, you go here, you do go wake. How do you do this? How do you have a business that's doing as well as your business is doing, and it's doing very well, where you start 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, 5, you're done? You know, how do you manage this? How do you do it?
Right. I'm very flexible with my work schedule. It's not that I wake up and do, the 9 to 5 every day or anything like that. Well, I do that, but in addition, you need more time than just that 9 to 5. Every entrepreneur and business owner will know that. So I just look for opportunities when my fiance is out, she's with friends or doing her own things. On the weekends where she's tied up, okay, I can squeeze in 2 hours of work here, another hour of work here. So I still get in that 12-hour workday, but it's sporadic, and it works with the schedule of my family.
Okay, so I'm under the fantasy of thinking, oh, it's 5 o'clock, that's it. All right, so you are putting in more hours.
I am putting in more hours. I do try to stop at 5 o'clock, but then there are a lot of times throughout the evening where I'm running into my office, and my fiance will attest to that and isn't always very happy about it. We're watching TV. Oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. I come back an hour later. That happens all the time.
I wrote a blog post. I think it was like last year. I think it was on Labor Day. And I was like, do you labor on Labor Day? And because I had the vision of these people running in from the barbecue, all right, hiding in their office.
Right.
And they're doing a little bit of work, and people are looking for them, and then they sneak out of their office like they were somewhere else. Because nobody wants to admit that they're working.
Right.
We're all trying to hide it.
Right, yeah, that's me. I've got my BlackBerry out. I'm sending an email here and there whenever I can.
And you know how I know they're working? Because they're sending me emails. Right. So I'm like, oh, really? How are you doing that?
Right.
Well, I thought, what happened with the family barbecue? So I know that goes on. So anyway, that's great. Now I have a better understanding of it. I'm more. I feel better about what the rest of us are doing now.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from it.
Because I thought you had some secret.
No, I don't have a secret. I wish I did, but no.
Okay, great. So now, what about how are you actually growing your business? Because I know when I started working with you, it was just like you and a camera.
Yeah.
Okay? And you were taking it from pre-production right on through post-production. So how are you actually getting as much work done as you're getting done now? How are you doing it?
Right. The first thing I would say that every business owner needs to have in place is an action plan for growth. Where am I going to be in 5 years, and what steps do I have to take to get there? So that's something that I have in place, and the next step for me is utilizing independent contractors to do overflow work as needed. So that's what I've been doing, using overflow editors, having a second shooter when I'm double booked, somebody that I can trust, that's reliable, that I know can go out and do a great job and represent my company well for my clients. So that's something that I've been doing, but I do have this problem of being a control freak and always striving for perfection. So I'm having a little bit of trouble letting some of that work out. I'm still overseeing, essentially every aspect of the production process. The editor sends me the cut, and I still end up putting 6 hours of work into it. So that's something that I have to figure out whether or not I'm going to be letting some of that go, or maybe that's what makes my business, and I need to hold on to that.
Well, I can tell you that I know when you've shot something because it has this very crisp, clean look, and the attention to detail is really working.
Yeah.
So I know, and in the years that we've been working together, I've seen you grow artistically. Really, it's amazing, but you've still been able to keep that that crispness, that seriousness. There's a seriousness to your work.
Uh-huh.
So, and I've seen that throughout, no matter what we've done.
Right.
That's been there. So, I'm not exactly sure how you are going to go about, finding people that are going to have that same quality.
Right.
But, I would suggest do what I do is go right to the college.
Sure.
I get a lot of where I found you and where I found Tony Rose and where I found Raina right there at school.
Yep.
Because those are the people. And usually, when you bring somebody in and you start molding them,
Sure.
that you'll see that. And when you get them where they're green, it's much easier to do that.
Right.
So, so tell me, what's next for you and your business?
What's next for the business is continuing to grow. I have a goal of a couple years down the road, having those full-time employees, having that office space, and taking maybe more of a management role, more of an overseer type role in the business where these people are going out doing the bulk of the work, but I'm still there ensuring that that quality is there and that things are being done right. So that's where I'm moving to. It's actually been going a lot faster than I ever imagined it would be. A couple of years ago when I put together my 5-year plan, here I am and I'm there, and I didn't think that I would be. Mm-hmm. I thought that it was going to take longer than that. So sometimes you're surprised, taken aback by how quickly things can actually move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I can see that you're moving very quickly. It's amazing. One of the questions I have is, if you took more of a management role, what kind of things would you be doing in your business? Now, I know that's going to include more accounting. So just letting you know,
Right.
You got to be careful about that one, because you still need to maintain your passion
Right.
in your business. It's very important. So you don't get to a point where, yes, you're making money, yes, you're experiencing success, but you find that you're working outside of your area of passion.
Right. Fortunately for me, another area that I'm passionate about is people management. And I would love to be that person whose primary responsibility is to support the people who are, in essence, supporting me. So making sure that the people who are doing work for me have the things they need, the tools that they need, that they're proud of what they're doing. There are a lot of people who go to work every day and they hate their job, they hate what they're doing, and you're going to see that in their work and in their performance because that passion's not going to be there. So making sure that that passion's there and that these people have everything they need to be successful and for the company, in turn, to be successful.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So after the new house, are you looking for office space?
I'm getting there. I'm getting close, yeah.
Way to go, Ryan.
Thanks.
That's wonderful. That's phenomenal. Okay, so when we look at your next 5 years, and we're talking about the office space, this and that, what are the qualities that you're looking for in an employee, because we have to look at your future hires as extensions of your own brand?
Right.
Okay, so what are we going to look for?
Well, there are those hard skills, the technical skills that they need to have to produce great video, but then there are those soft skills as well. And for me, I almost put a little more emphasis on those soft skills. They need to be easy to work with. They have to have great communications with the client. They have to be professional, clean-cut, well-dressed, presentable. So that's all very important. I feel like that's some of the stuff that's maybe pre-programmed into people. Either they have it or they don't. Whereas I think some of those hard skills, those technical skills, can be learned. They can be trained in on that. They can develop a style and learn how to use all this professional equipment. So for me, I'm looking for the person who I know can be a great employee, and then circling around and making sure that they have the technical skills to be a great employee.
Wow, that's great. Okay, so we're going to have to take a little break because I want to throw to Robert, who's going to give us some tips from the net. So take it away, Robert.
Hey, I'm Robert Dempsey with this week's Tips from the Net, or more specifically, Tip from the Net. And today I want to talk about a concept called From One Comes Three. And here's what I mean by that. So we have talked about playing to your strengths when creating content, and this is why. Because you can take a video, you can get it turned into audio, and then get it transcribed and turned into text. So one piece of content becomes three. And this works with pretty much everything. You can get a piece of audio. You can have someone make like a slideshow presentation using PowerPoint, use the audio as voiceover. So you get video, and then again, that audio can be transcribed. And you can also go completely the reverse order. You start with text, you have someone read it to audio, and then you create a video from that. And in terms of imagery, you can create an image from really just about anything. So absolutely, when you're creating your content, try and get it in as many different formats as possible, because then you can distribute it just all over the internet. Just blanket the internet with your content, and you will find some success. So that's it for this week. I am Robert Dempsey with this week's Tips from the Net, and I will see you next time.
Thanks, Robert. Great information. Okay, so Ryan, now that we're talking about growing your business, we're going to have to, I think what we have to do is really think about exactly where you want to go. Maybe move it out from 5 years, maybe 10 years. So have you thought about that?
I've thought about it a little bit, but actually I was meaning to set up an appointment with you to talk about that because, right now I am my brand. I am Modern Image Film and Video Productions, and when people think of that company, they think of me because, I'm right there on the homepage. I'm the person that goes out and works with them, every step of the way. And obviously, as my business continues to grow, I'm going to have to move away from that, at least to an extent. And so as the branding expert, I wanted to ask you actually, what do you think is the best way to do that? How do I take those steps over the next 5, 10 years?
Wow. Okay. Well, this is interesting. It seems like the interviewer has changed and the interviewee is here. Okay. So one of the things that I would say is to really get in and revisit that brand. Look at exactly what has made your company successful. Really dissect it. Get down as low as you possibly can with that. Understand exactly what the nuts and bolts are. And we know one of those things is being personable. Another one of those things is that high level of professionalism. But what else is there? And then we need to write those down. And then we need to incorporate those into that brand. And we need to look at people that fit with that brand. I have an interesting story about a client of mine that I've had for many years, probably since like 2004. I've had this client. And they own a computer company. And they're kind of like older versions of you, very clean cut. They are very mannerly. They have a really high level of customer service. So when he came to me, there was only 3 people in his business, himself, his brother, and a techie. And they have managed to grow that company to 17 employees.
Wow.
Okay? What we did was we took and we analyzed exactly what it was about them and their business that made their business so successful, that made people keep calling back and referring all their friends. And what we came down to was this extremely clean-cut, very professional look. He got uniforms for all the employees. He hired exactly what you were talking about before, hire personalities with the skills that were needed, but really focused in on the personality, that clean-cut look, those mannerly people. And I will tell you that there were certain people that were very highly technical, had very high technical skills that weren't brought on because they missed those other points. So you still think about, when I still think about that company, I think about that company having those very powerful ideals. So let's figure that out with your company. The next thing is we need to look at exactly what that growth plan is going to look like, because growth is very important, but growth can also be a detriment to a company. If we grow too big, too quickly, we lose quality, maybe we're not able to meet our deadlines, or we end up with a lot of space that we don't have people. So we really need to look and manage that growth. So I would be very happy to meet with you and talk about that, because I understand your business. I understand your business. I understand a lot about your product and your service from not only being a customer of yours, but also from being able to recommend my client database right to you for for their videos. And then we also have to incorporate those changes into the website. And the other thing is getting the message out that we're looking for a certain type of person or a certain type of people.
Sure.
And exactly being able to articulate exactly what we're looking for. And then we have an army of people out there looking for the right people for us. And that's very important. So figure out a script. It's the same thing
Yeah.
you do.
Right.
It's just we wouldn't do it in front of a camera.
Gotcha. Okay, so it sounds like the people need to be an extension of the brand, essentially.
The people need to be an extension of the brand.
Okay.
Exactly. We need to firm that brand up.
Gotcha.
And then we need to take that brand and be able to communicate it internally as well as externally. You know, marketing has taken on a completely different concept in a lot of business owners' minds and a lot of corporations. They understand more the importance of internal marketing. So when we bring people in, we have to incorporate them into the brand in such a way that they are now part of the brand, that they willingly accept that brand and they take ownership of that brand. And I have that going on with some of the companies that I'm currently working with that are in growth mode, to be able to not only indoctrinate the new employees and have them have ownership, but also allow the other employees that are currently there to facilitate and to be part of that change in the brand and the building those brand extensions.
Gotcha.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
It
It's
is very
fascinating. I love your question. So that's great. So I just want to tell you, first of all, we're almost out of time. I'm always running up against the clock, no matter where I am. I don't understand that. Can you give us 3 tips for somebody that might be thinking about starting a business? Just 3 very pointed tips. What do they need to know? What do they need to do?
Okay. The big one that I touched on at the beginning of the show was you've got to make connections with people. That's where your business is going to come from. So make sure that you are forging those relationships, always getting out there, networking. Whatever you have to do to meet people, do it. Another one is when you are just starting out in the business, you have to do work for free and for cheap, because that's how you're going to make those relationships. You know, people aren't going to want to pay full price for somebody who just started their business, and maybe they don't have a lot of work under their belt. And that's another big one too, especially in video production. You have to have those samples of your work. When people come to you to produce a video for them, they want to see what you've done for other clients. And when you're just starting out, as I said, it's hard to get full paying work, so you have to do work for free and for cheap to build your portfolio.
All right, that's 2.
That was 2. Okay, gotcha.
That was 2.
Another one is to have that action plan in place. You need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there. Otherwise, you're just driving blind. So make sure that you have that. That way you can see into the future and what needs to take place to get to where you're going.
And then I'm going to add one, and I would say that one that I would add is going to be create a brand. Start out with a brand. If you don't work with somebody to create a brand, you're going to be driving all over the place, and it's going to be very hard to put that plan into action.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Ryan. It was great to have you here. I'm so excited. Congratulations on your business. Keep up the good work. Let me know when you want to come in. I'm Lori Fleckhead from Soltar Solutions. Here, you've been watching Focus Forward. Thank you so much. Tune in again.